Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Ben Thompson and Sarah Campbell.
Good morning. Our headlines for you at 9 o'clock. Liam Payne's father visits the hotel in Argentina where his son died and thanks fans for their support.
Questions for the Metropolitan Police over its handling of accusations made against Mohammed Al-Fayed. Could the Harrods owner have been brought to justice before he died?
The winter fuel payment scam that is targeting pensioners. We will tell you how to spot it.
The young black men turning their backs on the Democratic Party as US Election Day comes into focus.
All the time, especially black people, we vote. People promise, and we never get anything.
Good morning. It's gold again for Britain's Emma Finucane, who defends her women's sprint world title after powering to victory at the Track Cycling World Championships.
And I'm celebrating great British bands on National Album Day. Where else? A record store.
Good morning. Well, our weekend is shaping up to be a tale of two halves. Not a bad start on Saturday. We've got rain clearing eastern England, sunny spells and scattered showers. But by Sunday, we have our first named storm of the season, Storm Ashley. Well, that is going to bring a spell of very wet and extremely windy weather. I'll have more details on that coming up shortly.
Hello, it is Saturday the 19th of October. Our main story this morning. The father of Liam Payne has visited the hotel in Argentina where the former One Direction singer fell to his death from a balcony on Wednesday.
Jeff Payne also took time to look at the tributes left in memory of his son and thanked well-wishers gathered outside. Well, it follows tributes from Liam's former partner, the singer Cheryl, and Simon Cowell, who formed One Direction after their appearances on The X Factor. Barry Caffrey has the latest.
A father mourning his son and paying tribute to his child at the site where he died. Liam Payne's dad, Jeff Payne, reading messages and looking at flowers placed outside the Casa Sur Hotel. This came after he visited the morgue to identify his son's body.
It's so emotional. We never expect this, we never imagined this. No fan is ready or prepared for this, for saying like, okay, the person that I've been a fan for over 10 years passed away, and minus in your world, in your country, it's crazy. So yeah, it's really, hurts a lot, but at the same time, it's like, as you can see, we can show him a little bit of love.
Driving too fast. Liam Payne fell from a third-floor balcony of the hotel. An initial post-mortem said he died from multiple traumas. His hotel room was found in total disorder, with items broken, and multiple packets of medication were discovered. A whiskey bottle and lighter were on the ground where he fell. Fans gathered in Liam's home city of Wolverhampton as a vigil was held last night in memory of the late singer. Up to 100 people looked on with their heads bowed as candles were lit and flowers were laid outside St. Peter's Church.
I never knew how I'd react when one of the members would pass away, and I just fell and I sobbed uncontrollably like I never knew I could do.
I'm still in shock, honestly. Like I was really hoping that it wasn't real, and I think we all feel a bit numb, especially because he was such a huge part of our generation as well.
Those closest to Liam have continued to pay tribute to him. His former partner, Girls Aloud singer Cheryl, who's the mother of their son Bear, said Liam was not only a pop star and celebrity, he was a son, a brother, an uncle, a dear friend and a father to our 7-year-old son. A son that now has to face the reality of never seeing his father again. Simon Cowell, the man who brought One Direction together, said he was heartbroken. You were kind, funny, sweet, thoughtful, talented, humble, focused. Adding, he always told people how much you loved music and how much love you genuinely had for the fans. In Buenos Aires, as Liam's father Jeff took time to thank the fans for their messages and tributes, as well as for just being there, the investigation into Liam Payne's death continues. It's not yet known when his body will be able to be repatriated to the UK. Barry Caffrey, BBC News.
Now it's over to Ben with more of today's news. Ben.
Sarah, thanks very much. Yes, there are fresh questions today for the Metropolitan Police over its handling of the accusations made against Mohammed Al-Fayed. The BBC has established that prosecutors were asked to examine the cases of just 2 of the 21 women who accused the former Harrods owner of sexual offences while he was still alive. Here's our investigations correspondent, Daniel DeSimone.
Mohammed Al-Fayed, a sexual predator. It's been a month since the BBC film detailed his sexual abuse of multiple women at Harrods, with former employees of the store saying the billionaire sexually assaulted or raped them. Last week, the Met Police revealed 21 women had approached the force while he was alive to report sexual offences. He was never charged. It refused to say exactly how many cases it passed to prosecutors for charging decisions. But we've now established the Met Police only asked prosecutors to decide whether to charge Mohammed Al-Fayed in relation to 2 out of the 21 women who contacted the force to say they were abused by him. It raises serious questions about the Met's handling of Al-Fayed. 40 further women have approached the force since the BBC film, with allegations spanning from 1979 to 2013. More than 65 women have contacted the BBC itself, with allegations as far back as 1977. In response to the BBC, a Met spokesperson said, "We are carrying out full reviews of all existing allegations reported to us about Al-Fayed to ensure there are no new lines of inquiry based on new information which has emerged." Yesterday, former Fulham captain Ronnie Gibbons said the club owner groped her on 2 occasions. She said, "Speaking my truth and finally telling my story will hopefully help me heal and be rid of the shame, embarrassment and pain I have carried for years." The scandal around Al-Fayed and his years of abuse continues to grow. Daniel DeSimone, BBC News.
You can see the full documentary. It's called Al-Fayed, Predator at Harrods. It's available on the BBC iPlayer, and there is a version as a podcast that's available on the BBC Sounds app. Elsewhere today, the Hamas-run health authority says at least 33 people have been killed following an Israeli airstrike on the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. We can talk to our correspondent Jonah Frisch, who is in Jerusalem. And Jonah, first of all, on that, what do we know about this latest attack?
Yeah, what the Hamas-run authority is saying is that yesterday evening, an Israeli airstrike hit some residential buildings in northern Gaza. As you said, 33 people are reported to have been killed. 21 of them are apparently women. We've seen pretty horrific pictures from the local hospital of bodies on the ground. We can't independently verify it, but the director of that hospital is saying that effectively the hospital is overrun and they're having to treat people on the floor in that hospital. We've reached out to the Israeli military this morning to ask for their response as to what exactly has happened here. They haven't as yet got back to us, but just to give you the context, the Israelis have been conducting an offensive in this part of northern Gaza for a few weeks. They have asked the local population to effectively evacuate, leave the area, but of course not everybody has been in a position to either want to or to do so, and there are a lot of civilians in there caught up not in just a pretty bleak situation in terms of the fighting, but also in terms of access to basic humanitarian supplies.
And Jonah, new reports this morning too, a suggestion that the home of the Israeli Prime Minister has been targeted in a drone attack from Lebanon. What do we know at this stage?
So what we know is that 3 drones crossed over into Israeli airspace from southern Lebanon. 2 of them were intercepted by Israeli air defences, but one of them continued about 50 kilometres further south to Caesarea, which is where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has a private residence. There was some sort of impact on a building there. It's not entirely clear what it hit, but we've had a statement in the last hour or so from the Prime Minister's office making it very clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu or his wife were not in the building at the time. There has been no casualties, but it's another indication of the threat that drones pose here in Israel. it has quite an effective missile system for taking out rockets which get fired from southern Lebanon, but it is a much trickier proposition taking down what are almost certainly Iranian drones being fired from southern Lebanon.
OK, Jonah, for now, thank you. Jonah Fisher there, live in Jerusalem. Here, government sources have insisted that extending a freeze on income tax thresholds won't breach Labour's manifesto. Reports say the Chancellor is considering keeping them as they are beyond 2028, and that would drag more people into higher tax bands as their earnings go up. Well, in the run-up to the election, Labour said it wouldn't increase the rate at which income tax is charged. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has held talks with his Chinese counterparts during a visit aimed at improving relations between the UK and China. Mr Lammy is only the second top UK diplomat to visit the country in 6 years. He's also met with British business leaders in Shanghai, where he talked about opportunities to improve cooperation.
There are areas where we can cooperate and collaborate with the Chinese, and I've been speaking to British businesses about how we do that. There are, of course, areas in which we will compete, and there are differences in areas in which we will challenge, and that's why I was able to spend time yesterday with the government here in China discussing all those areas.
Cuba has declared a national emergency after the failure of its main energy plant led to a nationwide blackout. Around 10 million people have been left without power, and all non-essential public sector services have been suspended. The Mexican Navy has seized the largest amount of drugs ever in a maritime operation. More than 8 tons of unspecified drugs with a street value of £80 million were found in 6 boats during a single operation in the Pacific Ocean. 23 people have been arrested. The King and Queen have arrived in a rain-soaked Australia ahead of a 6-day visit to the country. The couple will spend their first full day, though, of the scale-back tour resting, because the King is continuing his recovery from cancer. This update from our senior royal correspondent Daniela Relf, a warning, it contains some flashing images.
Well, the weather has slightly improved since the arrival of the King and Queen last night in torrential rain here in Sydney. We watched the Queen rather cautiously and tentatively walking down those steps of the aircraft in some pretty terrible weather. And it is an unusual start to this royal tour because it begins with a day off, and that is really unusual. Royal tours normally kick in really quickly once the members of the royal family are on the ground in the country they're visiting, but that isn't the case this time. There is a day off built in today, and it is a reminder that this is a King and Queen heading into their late 70s, and they have been given this day off to recover after the long journey from London. It is also, of course, a nod to the fact that the King is still unwell. He has cancer. He is still undergoing cancer treatment, and this whole tour has been put together on doctor's orders under medical advice. So a day off today. The couple are resting at Admiralty House, the official residence of the Governor-General here in Sydney, and we will see them for the first time officially here tomorrow on Sunday morning when the King and Queen will go to church. But what we did see last night to mark their arrival here in Australia was the lighting up of the sails of the Opera House with images from past royal tours, times that the King, then as Prince of Wales, visited Australia over the years, dating back to 1966. And that projection onto the Opera House came with a message from the King and Queen, saying that they were excited to be here in Australia to celebrate the country's communities and culture.
As Daniela Relf reporting, and my goodness, the brollies were out when the King and Queen arrived in Australia.
Getting down those stairs, the steps from the plane, pretty dicey.
Pretty dicey. How's the weather looking here? Time for another catch-up with Louise. Morning again, Louise.
Look at that.
Morning. I know I'm just confusing you now, aren't you? Because you were expecting me to talk storms and miserable weather, but I thought I'd start with some positive. Absolutely beautiful morning in Swansea. You can see that misty autumn start, but lots of blue sky, lots of sunshine. Many of us today having a lovely day, and it will be pleasantly mild for this time of year as well. But there is a change coming, and yes, we've got our first named storm of the season, Storm Ashley. Now, this storm is going to be one really centred around the strength of the wind, widespread gales likely. But in parts of Western Scotland, we could see gusts in excess of 70 to 80 miles an hour. Here, The Met Office has already issued an amber weather warning. That means that there is the potential for some disruption from the strength of the winds due to this storm. Now, the storm will arrive as we go through the early hours of Sunday morning. It's going to really intensify over the next few hours. The strongest of the winds to the southern flank of that low, but there will also be a lot of heavy rain to go with it as well. Talking of rain, we've got some at the moment across the UK. It's pushing its way steadily eastwards, so already we've seen that improving picture across West Wales, but we will gradually start to see that rain easing across Lincolnshire, East Anglia and the south east. Sunny spells continue to come through, a few scattered showers into the far northwest, but not a bad afternoon and probably the best of the weather throughout the weekend for many of us. So temperatures are likely to peak up to highs of 17 degrees, which is 63 Fahrenheit. But the change will come as we move into tomorrow with that storm. It is going to continue to bring a spell of wet weather from the west, temperatures around double digits. So as we go into Sunday, then let's take a look at Storm Ashley in a little more detail. The heaviest of the rain sweeping its way steadily east, the strongest of the winds to the southern flank of this low, so Northern Ireland, Western Scotland really getting quite a battering of strong winds as we go through the latter stages of the day. As the rain continues to push through, just like today, we will actually see a clearance for some with some sunshine coming through. Closest to the low is where we're likely to continue to see a real rash of showers through the day. The winds are featured, but still coming from a pretty warm source. So in the sunshine, we might still get temperatures peaking at 18 or 19 Celsius. The storm will move away and things will quieten down Monday into Tuesday. In fact, as Ashley eases away, high pressure builds, and that means that we should see a little more in the way of settled sunshine coming through. Maybe the risk of more rain into the southeast on Monday, but on the whole, not a bad couple of days awaits. Back to you two.
We're going to need those higher temperatures to dry out, aren't we, Louise? Thank you.
We are. Oh.
Around 10 million people in England and Wales are set to lose their winter fuel allowance this year. But there are now fears that pensioners are being targeted by a scam offering a fake living subsidy payment in its place.
Yeah, the scam that comes in the form of a text message pretends to be something called the UK Government Living Allowance Office. It's got a link in it that encourages would-be victims to provide their details to claim that allowance.
There it is. It's something Radio 4's Moneybox is looking at, and Dan Whitworth is here for us. Just explain, why this scam is so prevalent at the moment.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it in your introduction. Obviously, it's all about the winter fuel payments, and this is all about criminals, fraudsters, scammers looking to exploit people's fears and hopes because, as you said, around 10 million people are going to lose that winter fuel payment. That's £200 or £300, depending when you were born, depending when you get your pension. And that's obviously a lot of money that a lot of people aren't going to get. And we know things are financially tight for huge numbers of people. We know winter's coming, so energy bills are on a lot of people's minds. And so scammers will look to exploit those fears that people are worried, and they'll look to exploit that hope. I mean, Ben, you mentioned, click on a link, get some more money. Well, that's exploiting that hope. And there's a gentleman called Chris Brooks from Age UK. He's been talking to us just about why he thinks this scam is on the rise right now.
It's absolutely callous and unforgivable. And so we've seen an increase in recent times since the announcement about the winter fuel payment. And they've just cottoned on to this, and they think it's an opportunity for them to rip people off, quite simply. And unfortunately, we've heard of people falling victim to these, which is really sad. But hopefully other people following the recent media activity around it will be alerted to the danger that's out there and be able to spot scams more effectively and then take the appropriate action to not only not fall for them, but also hopefully report them and increase the chances that the scammers are brought to justice.
And it's that idea, Dan, isn't it? It's particularly insidious, that people will be aware of this. It's in the news, so people will think maybe, actually, this could be legitimate. There's an air of realness to it because people have read about it or have watched the news about it. How, though, does it work? What are they asking people to do, and how can they pinch your money?
So almost certainly there's going to be a link in this, and it's basically the first step of it could be an impersonation scam. So if you click on the link, say click on the link and get your details and get your money this way, it could be that you're asked to enter some of your bank details, for example, your address, your date of birth. Now, you might forget about that text, but a couple of days, a week, a couple of weeks later, you might get a phone call from your bank, clearly the scammers, same scammers, using the details that you've unwittingly given them to absolutely convince you they're calling from your bank. And if they have your sort code, if they have your date of birth, that is a huge, big step. It could also be, for example, a purchase scam. Right. So if, for example, it could take you through to a fake website that looks like a genuine online platform, you want to buy something and you enter your details in that way. So it's usually the first step in a different type of scam.
OK, so what's the advice if you get something that looks a bit like what we were showing on the screen?
Always ignore it. The best advice is delete it. If you want to, you can report it. And if it comes through as a text message, you can forward it to 7726. Now, that goes through to the National Cyber Security Centre, plays into their information, plays into their research. And that 7726, it spells out the word spam on your mobile phone, your numerical keypad. So you can always do that as well.
That is the challenge, though, isn't it? Because people will be so aware of maybe losing that payment. They'll be really aware of, money being tight right now. What help? Is there help available for people?
There is help available. Certainly there's something called the Household Support Fund. That's worth £500 million, £500 million. That was extended last month. That's going to run for another 6 months. In England, that's distributed by local authorities. So you can certainly approach your local authority that way. Obviously, this is all to do with the winter fuel payment, so energy bills. Now, energy suppliers are obliged to help people who are struggling, so you can always get through that way. Something else also that Chris Brooks from Age UK told me about is that the advice for people in terms of when you get a scam like this, as I say, you can report it, but he's got some thoughts on that too.
The fact that it's from an unknown source and that you weren't expecting it means that people should be really, really wary and if possible, report it to Action Fraud. We support the Take 5 campaign to stop fraud, which means that people should just pause, take a deep breath and think carefully before they respond to anything. Often scammers will make it seem really urgent. So they'll say that there's a deadline approaching, you need to do something really quickly, or you'll miss out on something. So it's really important that people are able to spot those warning signs.
I think that point that Chris just made, about pushing people and about that sense of urgency, people always ask me, how can you tell if this is a scam or not? One of the things, first of all, because they'll be trying to ask you for money. Yep. That's always fundamental. But, lots of people ask you for money all the time. Mm-hmm. If they're trying to rush you, if they're trying to pressure you, if all these scams, they're relating on preying on people's weaknesses and pushing people. And if you're doing that, it's really, really difficult, basically, to... if you're lost in the moment, if you're under a fraudster spell and they're pushing you for it, well, that can help. So again, that thing that he mentioned, taking a minute, pausing, speaking to someone who's around, because if you're under the spell of the fraudsters, chances are other people might not be. So take a moment, just, think about it, speak to someone else. If in doubt, just delete it. If it's genuine, someone will get back in touch with you. Don't be rushed into anything.
As you were saying, it's just so insidious, isn't it? Because people are feeling so vulnerable on this issue and the scammers know that. And that's why it works.
And again, scammers know what's going on in the world. They'll be following the news and they will be exploiting, exactly as you said, Ben, those kind of things that are in the news right now.
Yeah, they're so quick as well at doing it, aren't they? Dan, so good to see you, as always, and there's loads more on that. Dan's following that. It's Moneybox, BBC Radio 4, and, of course, on BBC Sounds. That's just after midday today.
Now then, the time is 9:24. When it was painted more than 200 years ago, John Constable's The Hay Wain was considered radical by many at the time.
It is instantly recognisable, and now a new exhibition tells us why it became so universally famous. Zoe O'Brien has the details.
More than 200 years old and still the centre of attention. The Hay Wain catapulted John Constable to fame in France and wider Europe, winning him a gold medal at the Paris Salon in 1824. The painting, now considered revolutionary, its creator one of our greatest landscape artists of all time, it wasn't well received in England at first.
For the British, who were seeing Constable's work from 1802 onwards at the Royal Academy, the British Institution and elsewhere, they were quite familiar with his artistic journey. It's when Constable's works exhibited in Paris and then go to the Paris Salon that there's a complete revelation for the French. They hadn't seen art like it because of the war, but they hadn't seen radical art like it in comparison to the classicism, the Davidian school of French art.
The Haywain was painted in 1821, but it's now at the heart of a new exhibition at its home, the National Gallery, as part of their Discovery series. Well, even today in and around Suffolk, you can see the views that inspired the artist more than 200 years ago. Take this as an example, Flatford Mill. You'll recognise it from the Haywain, although the renowned picture isn't an exact image of what was happening right here at this spot. It's an accumulation of images drawn from his knowledge of Suffolk.
What is important to know is that, of course, he didn't paint the picture in Suffolk. He didn't paint it on the spot. He painted it in his studio in London. So this is a very, very carefully constructed picture, which is composed, put together of different elements from his different sketches.
The exhibition includes early studies like this one of the Haywain, believed to have been painted alongside the final piece by Constable, testing changes and techniques.
But it is, of course, what artists have always done. So idealised view, if you will, of Suffolk, yeah.
The gallery is displaying the artist's early work and some of his private pieces, alongside a look at his contemporaries. It runs until February next year. Zoe O'Brien, BBC News.
Oh, great. Now, we've been talking about classics all morning, classic albums, and thank you. You've been sending them in. There's a lot of Pink Floyd in there, isn't there?
There's a lot of controversy as well about, what would be the classic British album, because we're talking about it's National Album Day, and there is a theme. It's great British groups. We'll talk more about your favourites a little later, but it is fascinating how it can divide opinion.
Totally fascinating. Now, of course, we're on BBC One until 10 o'clock when Matt Tebbett takes over in the Saturday Kitchen. So, Matt, can we put you on the spot and say favourite album?
Favourite album? That is really putting me on the spot. I have lots. Swiftie, maybe.
OK.
Don't know, I like a bit of the Beatles, Revolver.
Yeah.
That leads on to our guest today, incidentally. Thank you. What a link. Today's guest is radio DJ and presenter Nick Grimshaw. Favourite album, go.
Favourite album, maybe Lauryn Hill.
Oh.
Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
OK.
That's hard on the spot.
You had time to think about that?
I did. I had 8 seconds to go.
Very good. Right, we'll talk more about Lauryn Hill later.
We will.
And your brilliant podcast.
Yeah. So, we're here to talk about Dish with Angela Hartner.
And
also on the show today.
Very nice. Right, we'll talk about that. Now, listen, normally it's Heaven and Hell. You've done the show before. But we thought we'd pitch you two together and do two heavens.
OK.
So tell us about your idea of food heaven.
So my food heaven is I love Japanese food and I can't make it. Brilliant. So I thought when I'm on here, I should get someone to make it. Yes. Awesome. So I've gone for a ramen. A lot of cuts in a ramen, a lot of bits.
There's a lot of garnish.
A lot of garnish. So I want a ramen, please.
And you've never had a ramen taste as good as the one you had in Japan?
No, so I just need it to be
fantastic,
better than Japanese ramen.
Fantastic.
No, please, Matt. That's all.
Very easily, please.
Do that.
Ange, what about you? What's your offer?
My food heaven is roast chicken with chips, garlic mayonnaise and stuffing, sage stuffing.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Easier than a ramen, is that what you're saying?
Right, let's see what else is on the menu today. Sirtaç Derek, good to have you back. A Turkish dish from you.
Yeah, so we're doing mantı, type of Turkish dumpling, with hen of the woods mushrooms and garlic yogurt.
Nice, and this is one of your most popular restaurants.
Classic,
right?
It's a classic, yeah, bringing it back.
Forward to that. Ange, what are you treating us to?
So, more carbs. We're doing a garganelli pasta with a white sausage ragu, so in bianco, no tomato, just a bit of cream.
Nice, you're hand-rolling that as well?
Hand-rolling, we are, Matt.
We are hand-rolling. What have you got?
Hello, Pointy.
All right?
I'm all right, yeah, I'm good. I'm wearing propellers today.
Yeah, nice, I like it.
You need velocity for these things, Matt, that's what you need.
Favourite album, go.
Favourite album, George Harrison, Brainwashed. Brilliant.
Wow.
Easy.
Love George Harrison.
I'm really upset now with Taylor Swift.
George Harrison. Just every time go for George, you can't go wrong with George.
OK, good to know.
It's good to know, yes. So drinks today, I have an amazing, unusual wine for Sirtaç, a real kind of mellow of a wine to go with his mushroom dish. Scrumptious. For Ange, I've got a delicious southern Italian red, actually. It's quite a surprising red because it's kind of lighter than you might imagine, but again, great value, delicious. And depending on who gets heaven, for you, I've either got basically the world's best Pilsner. It won the world's best Pilsner award. It won it. And
stop.
No, but it's just over £1. I can't wait. It's amazing. And for you, I've got an Aussie Chardonnay, depending on, we'll see which way it goes. I'm not got a dog in the fight, obviously. Let's hope Nick wins.
Yeah.
Nice.
We won the world's best.
OK. Good. Stop talking, Ollie.
OK.
Right, there you go. We'll see you at 10.
Where's Ollie been? That is not an October UK tan.
Oh, yes, it's true. No, I've been working abroad.
Sardinia.
Sardinia.
All week with fast cars.
Oh, tough life. Tough life.
See you later.
See you later. Thank you. Now it's just after 9:30. It's just over 2 weeks until voters head to the polls in the US election, where Democratic hopeful Kamala Harris has been looking to increase her popularity with a key group of the electorate.
Yeah, according to recent polling, black men are failing to support Ms Harris in the way they did Joe Biden at the last election.
It's an issue for her campaign, which could have a real impact in places like Georgia, the key swing state with the largest population of black voters. Our North America correspondent Neda Tawfik reports.
Georgia is one of the biggest prizes of this election, and the way to win this swing state be through Savannah and this largely Democratic coastal county. In 2020, an increase in voter turnout here propelled Joe Biden over the line to his narrow victory in the Peach State. With Election Day now in focus, though, Kamala Harris may struggle to replicate that performance with one key group. All I do is be me. All I can do is be me. Her Good Vibes campaign hasn't reversed a worrying trend of young black men abandoning Democrats. We spoke to a group who has no plans to vote for Kamala Harris.
In my community, we've been voting all the time. Especially black people, we vote. People promise, and we never get anything. And right now, I'm just not sold on anybody.
His friend, though, is all in for Donald Trump, who shares the very qualities he admires in his father.
Very blunt, very brash, very straightforward. They say they're going to do something, they go figure out a way to get it done. That, to me, reminds me of, they call it toxic masculinity now, but to me, it's just straight up masculinity. It's straight manhood.
Hello, Savannah, and hello, Georgia. We love Georgia.
To stem Donald Trump's potential gains here, Democrats have dispatched their heavyweights. Kamala Harris became their first nominee to visit this county since the 90s. Bill Clinton was sent out to shore up the rural vote in the Southeast. And Barack Obama had this direct message to black men thinking of sitting out the election.
Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
Now that early voting is underway here in the state of Georgia, there's even more pressure on the candidates to get their message out. Kamala Harris is expected to get the majority of black Americans who make up a third of the electorate in this state. But her numbers with young black men could have an outsized impact.
At Georgia's oldest public historically black college, Savannah State, many of these students say Kamala Harris will get their vote, but not because of her race.
Neither candidate is a good option at this moment, but I feel like on the more professional side, Kamala Harris has that edge as opposed to Donald Trump.
Being that Kamala is an African-American woman, that does not just particularly sway me to just go with Kamala because she's black. I just really want to understand who is actually the human, who actually cares.
In a race this close, a once loyal voting base is keeping Democrats on their toes. Neda Tawfik, BBC News, Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, not long to go before the US election. It's come around really quickly.
It's come around really quickly, hasn't it? Sports news now, though.
Morning.
Man United, back in the news. Manager, back in the news.
Well, we're back from the international break.